Hello, in about an hour I'm going to be talking on the Shaun Attwood show about Mr. Malkinson, about this extraordinary miscarriage of justice by a person who was kept in prison for 17 years. After 6.5 of them he could have been released if he had admitted guilt. He never did so, and so he served a further 10 years for a crime he never committed. And as I hope I will discuss, I mean, it won't be very long. I'll only be there for about half an hour, but I will focus on the timeline, which is astonishing. In 2007, the police had evidence that there was no DNA, that his DNA was not on the vest of the person who had been attacked. That is simply staggering, and that evidence was dismissed by the police and the people who were supposed to review that sort of evidence, and the Crown Prosecution Service is under an obligation to pass on information which it believes makes the case unsound, and to look at these issues. It didn't do so because it thought that this was not important, and yet at the same time you have the knowledge that this person in prison was protesting his innocence continually. He's now released, and the implications of this go far wider than simply a question about how much of the compensation he's going to receive. He's now going to receive all of it. There was a question about removing some of that compensation to pay for the board and lodging that he has graciously received at the hands of His Majesty's Prison Service, then Her Majesty's Prison Service. But that nonsense has been overturned, and rightly so. At the same time, the Home Secretary, the Justice Secretary, none of these people have actually asked Malkinson into their offices to meet him, to apologise, or even to discuss the situation with him. And more than that, we know there's now a review going on, and he heard about that through the media, not even through a personal communication. It is staggering that our legal system should be so blind to its sense of duty and its sense of grace. This is a legal system that is enshrined in history as a graceful and thoughtful system, but it is proving to be thoughtless and graceless in this instance. I would have expected Suella Braverman to contact him. I would have expected Alex Chalk to contact him. Both of these people can only too happily get on the news when it suits them. Alex Chalk was only recently on the news backing up Lee Anderson's extraordinary use of 15th century High Danish, which he said was perfectly acceptable and, if a little salty, reflected the government's position. Well, I don't believe a government minister should be using salty language in public and giving that sort of example to younger people and to people across the world. This is the way we do business. We use salty 15th century language. I don't think that's right, nor do I think it's right for our Home Secretary, who also has responsibility for the police, to ignore this case, to keep quiet. It doesn't go away by keeping quiet, as the police have learnt. And more than that, of course, this isn't only a problem that is going to impact the present government and the ministers of the present government. It also impacts the leader of the opposition, who was in charge of the Crown Prosecution Service from 2008. So during his time, these issues were being discussed. During his time, specifically, this man saw his sentence extended from 6.5 years to 17 years because he refused to admit his guilt, because he protested his innocence vigorously. I think there's a lot of egg on a lot of faces, and there's going to have to be a lot of work done to make that egg go away.